AT 11:42 a.m., January 27, 1945. 28,000 feet above the churning Pacific, the cold bit like a physical blade, searing through the unpressurized fuselage of the B-29 Superfortress Aquare 52. Staff Sergeant Robert Chen huddled behind the central fire control station, his eyes fixed on the plexiglass, where oxygen frost crept across the surface like a deathly veil. At 22 years old, he was the youngest gunner in the 497th Bombardment Group. 11 combat missions over Japan under his belt, 0 confirmed kills to his name. A rookie, a ghost in the gun turret, staring out at a sky that was about to turn into a slaughterhouse. The formation was bound for Tokyo, a precision bombing run on the city's port facilities. But the Japanese knew they were coming. At least 40 fighters had scrambled to intercept, their engines screaming toward the American bombers long before the coast of Honshu came into view. For Chen, the numbers were a cold, unforgiving weight. The 73rd Bombardment Wing had been flying out of Saipan since November, and the pattern was always the same. 28,000 to 30,000 feet, 50 degrees below zero. Jet stream winds so brutal they turned bomb aiming into a gamble, and Japanese fighters swarming like hornets every single time. By mid-January, the wing had lost 31 B-29s to flak and fighters, 31 crews, 340 men. The worst was January 14th over Nagoya. 5 superfortresses gone in less than 20 minutes, swallowed by the sky. This mission was supposed to be like the rest, high altitude, visual bombing, a steady run for the bombardiers to line up their Norden sights. But visual bombing meant one thing: the formation had to hold fast. No evasive maneuvers, no sudden turns, sitting ducks. And the Japanese fighters were not just coming, they were hunting. Chen's fingers wrapped tight around the controls of the B-29's remote gun system, 4 turrets studded across the fuselage, each with twin .50 caliber machine guns that could fire 2,800 rounds a second. He'd fired them 3 times before, twice in anger over Nagoya, once off the Japanese coast. He'd pulled the trigger, watched tracers streak into the sky, and never seen a single fighter fall. No flash, no smoke, no victory. Just the empty hum of spent gun barrels and the sickening realization that he might be the weak link in his crew's chain of survival. The Nakajima Key 44, Tojo to the Americans, Shoki, the Devil Queller, to the Japanese, was the reason for the fear. A brute of a fighter, it could climb to 28,000 feet in under 8 minutes, a feat the B-29's gunners could only watch in dread. At high altitude, where the air was thin and oxygen deprivation fogged their minds, where gun mechanisms froze solid and fingers went numb, the KI-44 was a nightmare. It carried 4 12.7mm machine guns or 2 20mm cannons, and its pilots knew the B-29's weaknesses better than the Americans who flew them. They struck fast, diving in from the high side at 400 miles per hour, firing in short bursts, then braking hard to avoid the concentrated defensive fire. And then there were the ramming attacks. No kamikaze doctrine, just desperation math. 1 fighter for 1 bomber, a fair trade when a B-29 cost $600,000 and carried 11 men trained for 6 months. The 47th Sentai, based at Narimasu Airfield near Tokyo, had a special unit that practiced nothing but ramming. American intel said they'd taken down at least 3 B-29s and damaged 7 so badly they were written off after crash landings. Aquare 52 carried 6 tons of high-explosive bombs in her belly, her target glowing on the navigation map. Tokyo's port, a hub of Japanese war production. Weather recon had reported clear skies, a blessing for the bombardiers, a curse for the gunners. Chen had been briefed at 0400 that morning. 62 B-29s in the strike, 9 predicted not to return, a 1 in 7 chance of death. He'd listened, nodded, and wondered if he'd be one of the 9. Wondered if his 0 kills would stay 0, if his name would be just another line on a casualty list, a forgotten kid from the gun turret. 11:58 a.m., the formation crossed the Japanese coast. Radar operators on Honshu locked on instantly. Air raid sirens wailed across Tokyo, a shrill cry that cut through the city's morning calm. At Narimasu Airfield, Japanese pilots sprinted toward their fighters, engines already roaring on the flight line, propellers spinning to life. Noon exactly. The first Ki-44s lifted off, their wings cutting through the sky as they turned southeast toward the bomber stream. 43 fighters. Aquare 52 was about to face more enemy aircraft than any B-29 in the Pacific Theater had ever encountered in a single mission. Chen's zero-kill streak was about to be put to the test, and the sky was about to turn red. The first fighter appeared at 12,000 yards, a dark speck climbing almost vertically through scattered clouds, visible only through Chen's optical sight. He watched it grow, the blur resolving into wings, then the distinctive radial engine cowling of a Ki-44. At 27,000 feet, the fighter rolled inverted and dove straight for the formation's lead element. 3 more followed, their silhouettes black against the pale blue sky. Chen rotated his upper forward turret, the remote control system whirring, a revolutionary piece of tech, temperamental at 50 below zero, to track the dive. The lead Ki-44 opened fire at 800 yards, tracers arcing toward the bombers like red lightning. Chen pressed the firing button. The turret hammered, .50 caliber rounds streaking toward the fighter. The Ki-44 snap-rolled left and vanished beneath the formation. No hits. It had broken off too fast, too clean. Chen's jaw tightened. 0 still. By 12:07, the sky was a war zone. Fighters attacked from all quadrants, high, low, left, right, their cannons and machine guns blazing. The B-29's gunners fired back, tracers crisscrossing the sky, but the Japanese pilots were relentless. Chen's aircraft commander called out a fighter at 2 o'clock high, and Chen swung the upper turret fast. A Ki-44 was positioning for a beam attack, 700 yards out, its nose locked directly on Aquare 52. No more hesitation. Chen led the target, his fingers steady on the trigger, and fired a 3-second burst. Armor-piercing incendiary rounds walked across the fighter's flight path, and in an instant, the Ki-44's engine exploded. Black smoke erupted from the cowling, fire trailing behind it as the fighter rolled inverted and fell away into the clouds below. First confirmed kill. Chen did not cheer. He did not even breathe a sigh of relief. 2 more fighters were already maneuvering into attack position, their noses pointed at the crippled sky around him. The Zero was gone, but the fight was just beginning. The Devil Quellers were not done with Aquare 52, and Robert Chen was about to learn that 1 kill was nothing against a storm of 43 fighters. The rookie gunner from the 497th was no longer a ghost. He was a target, and the sky was only getting darker. The seconds bled into minutes, and the sky over Japan became a chaos of metal and fire. Aquare 52's right blister gunner opened fire on a second Ki-44 with his twin .50s, tracers streaking into the air, while the tail gunner called out a fighter closing from 6 o'clock low, directly behind the bomber, the blind spot every gunner feared. Chen's central fire control system let him slave the lower aft turret to his sight, and he tracked the target, fired and missed, the rounds sailing past the fighter's wings. The tail gunner took over, his bullets stitching across the Ki-44's wing root, and the fighter shuddered, aluminum skin peeling away like paper before it spun into a flat dive. Second kill, credited to the Aquare 52 crew. 2 down, 41 to go. 12:19 p.m. The formation reached the initial point for the bomb run, the moment of maximum vulnerability. For 6 long minutes, the B-29s would fly straight and level, the bombardiers sinking their northern sights, no course changes, no evasive moves. The Japanese fighters knew it. 14 Ki-44s formed up 3,000 feet above the bomber stream, orbiting once, twice, positioning for a coordinated attack that would overwhelm the defensive fire. This was textbook tactics, the kind that had brought down dozens of B-29s before. Split the gunner's fire, hit from multiple angles, turn the formation into a shooting gallery. 12:21 p.m. They rolled in. Chen counted them through his sight, his heart hammering in his chest. 4 fighters diving in pairs from 10 o'clock high and 2 o'clock high. Simultaneous attacks designed to stretch the gunners thin. The first pair opened fire at 1,000 yards, cannons blazing, and Chen engaged the lead fighter, his tracers converging with fire from two other B-29s in the formation. The Kai-44 flew straight into the stream of rounds, its canopy shattering in a shower of glass. It snap-rolled right and collided with its wingman, both aircraft disintegrating in a ball of fire and metal. Third and fourth kills. But the victory was short-lived. The second pair of fighters had used the chaos as cover, closing fast inside 500 yards, their cannons firing. Chen could see the muzzle flashes, bright against the sky, and he swung his sight to the nearest fighter. It was not breaking off, it was not jinking. It was flying straight and true, no evasive maneuvers. Ramming attack. Impact in 4 seconds. Chen kept firing, the upper forward turret pouring rounds into the Kai-44's engine cowling, hits sparking across the metal. The fighter trailed smoke but kept accelerating. 300 yards, 200, 100. At 12:22 p.m., it struck Aquare 52's number 3 engine, the impact sounding like a steel hammer slamming into a locomotive boiler. The fighter's propeller chewed through the engine cowling, metal shrieking, and the B-29 yawed violently to the right as the number 3 propeller tore free and tumbled into the sky. The Kai-44's wing sheared off, its fuselage cartwheeling over the B-29's back before disappearing, while pieces of aluminum and steel rained past the gun turrets. Chen felt the entire aircraft shudder, the floor vibrating beneath his boots as warning lights blazed across the flight engineer's panel. Number 3 engine fire. Number 4 engine losing oil pressure. The aircraft commander shut down both right-side engines and hit the fire suppression system. Aquare 52 was now flying on 2 engines, damaged, struggling, falling out of formation, losing altitude at 300 feet per minute. Alone. Damaged. A perfect target. 3 Kai-44s broke from their attack pattern and dove toward the crippled B-29, altitude and speed on their side. Standard Japanese doctrine: finish off damaged bombers fast before they can jettison bombs and gain maneuverability. Chen rotated the upper turret to meet the first attacker, a Kai-44 diving from 1 o'clock high, 1,000 yards and closing. He waited. The targeting computer needed 3 seconds to calculate a firing solution for a maneuvering target, and forced himself to hold fire, even as the fighter's cannons lit up the sky at 800 yards, rounds punching through the B-29's left wing, hydraulic fluid spraying from the severed lines. At 600 yards, Chen fired a 4-second burst. Tracers connected, the Kai-44's canopy exploding, and the fighter rolled left and fell away, trailing debris. 5th kill. The second fighter attacked from 5 o'clock level, the tail gunner engaging first, his twin .50s hammering for 6 seconds. The Kai-44 flew through the tracer stream unscathed, closing to 400 yards, and the tail gunner's guns fell silent. Ammunition exhausted. Chen slaved the lower aft turret to his controls, the mechanical linkage sluggish, hydraulic pressure dropping across all systems, and tracked the fighter manually, leading the target by instinct, firing a 2-second burst. The rounds hit the Kai-44's left wing root, the wing folding upward in a catastrophic structural failure. The fighter tumbling end over end before breaking apart at 12,000 feet. 6th kill. The third attacker had used the fight as a diversion, and Chen spotted it too late. 3 o'clock high, 300 yards out, wings level, nose pointed directly at Aquare 52's cockpit. Its guns were silent, ammunition expended. A second ramming attack. The right blister gunner opened fire, rounds sparking off the Kai-44's engine, but the fighter did not deviate. Chen swung the upper turret hard right. The mechanical stopped screaming in protest, fired and missed high. Overcorrected. Fired again, hit stitching across the fighter's fuselage. But the Kai-44 shuddered and kept coming. 100 yards, 50 yards. It struck the B-29's number 1 engine, the propeller disintegrating, shrapnel tearing through the wing, the number 1 fuel tank rupturing, aviation gasoline spraying into the slipstream. The Kai-44's fuselage broke in half, its tail section tumbling over the flight deck, the engine and cockpit smashing into the left wing and ripping a 6-foot hole in the leading edge. Aquare 52 was now flying on 1 engine. Number 2, sputtering, struggling, the bomber falling through 18,000 feet, airspeed dropping below 160 miles per hour. The left wing leaked fuel, the hydraulic system was failing, and 12 more Japanese fighters were forming up for a third wave of attacks. Chen's hands were numb, the temperature in the gun station dropping to 62 below zero. His oxygen mask frozen to his face, ice crystals coating his optical sight. He scraped them away with a gloved thumb and tracked the incoming fighters. 12 Kai-44s split into 3 groups of 4, classic Wolfpack tactics. Feint high, attack low, exploit the first defensive gap. A tactic that worked on healthy B-29s with full crews and functional systems, on a crippled bomber with failing hydraulics, partial gun coverage, and 1 engine? It was execution. But Robert Chen was not a rookie anymore. 0 kills was a distant memory. 6 confirmed, and the sky was still full of devil quellers. He scraped the ice from his sight again, his fingers stiff, his breath fogging the air, and prepared to fight. For his crew, for his plane, for the 0 that was now a 6, for survival. Aquare 52 fell through 16,000 feet. The single Curtiss-Wright radial engine on number 2 position, straining to keep 32 tons of damaged bomber airborne. The damaged left wing creating massive drag that turned every foot of altitude lost into a fight to get it back. The aircraft commander ordered all non-essential equipment jettisoned. Ammunition cans, toolkits, survival gear, every pound stripped to lighten the load. Every ounce mattered now, as the third wave of 4 Kai-44s dove from 12 o'clock high, their cannons blazing. Chen engaged the lead fighter at 900 yards, the upper turret responding sluggishly, hydraulic pressure down to 30%, and fired anyway, the recoil shaking the entire gun mount. Tracers arced toward the diving fighter, and the Kai-44 jinked right, but Chen tracked it, fired again, the second burst catching the left wing, fabric peeling away, structural members exposed, the wing folding in on itself. The fighter snap-rolled and fell away. 7th kill. The remaining 3 fighters pressed their attack, firing simultaneously at 600 yards, cannon rounds and machine gun bullets converging on Aquare 52 from 3 angles. The bombardier's compartment took a direct hit, plexiglass shattering, frigid air screaming through the fuselage. A 20mm explosive round killing the bombardier instantly. Chen ignored the impact, the scream of the wind, the weight of another death on his shoulders, and swung the turret to the second fighter. The targeting computer was offline, hydraulic failure disabling the automatic compensation system, and he aimed manually. Instinct, 11 missions of experience, muscle memory guiding his fingers. He fired, the burst hitting low, rounds sparking off the fighter's belly, and the Kai-44 broke, left hard, and climbed away, trailing smoke. Probable kill. He shifted to the third fighter, 400 yards out, diving nearly vertical, and fired a 6-second burst, the gun barrels overheating even in the sub-zero cold. Tracers walked across the sky, and the Kai-44 flew straight into them, hits peppering the engine cowling, the propeller stopping, windmilling uselessly, the fighter's nose dropping as it fell past the B-29's left wing at 200 miles per hour and vanished into the clouds below. 8th confirmed kill. The 4th fighter used the chaos for a beam attack from 9 o'clock level, the left blister gunner engaging first, the fighter jinking to avoid the fire, closing to 300 yards and firing a long cannon burst that tore through the B-29's left horizontal stabilizer, control cables snapping, the aircraft yawing violently, the rudder jamming hard left. The aircraft commander fought the controls, applying right aileron, reducing power on the single engine to stop the spin, while Chen tracked the fighter as it passed beneath the fuselage, slaving the lower turret, only for the mechanical linkage to grind and stutter, rotating 15 degrees before freezing solid. Hydraulic failure complete. The tail gunner took the shot, his mechanically operated .50s still functional, no hydraulics needed, firing a 4-second burst as the Kai-44 pulled up from its attack run. Rounds hit the fighter's tail, the rudder separating, the Kai-44 spinning into an uncontrolled flat dive. 9th kill credited to the Aquare 52 crew. The second wave of 4 Kai-44s was inbound, a high-side attack from 2 o'clock, Aquare 52 now at 14,000 feet and descending airspeed 140 miles per hour, critical slow, teetering on the edge of stall speed. Chen checked his ammunition. 15 rounds left in the upper turret's belt, the lower turrets offline, the blister gunners low on ammo, the tail gunner with perhaps 60 rounds remaining. 4 fighters closing fast and barely enough bullets to fight back. The Kai-44s split into 2 pairs, Japanese pilots learning from experience that even damaged B-29s carried lethal firepower, coordinated attacks still the only safe bet. The first pair dove from 2 o'clock high, the second positioning for a follow-up from 4 o'clock level. Chen tracked the lead fighter in the first pair, 800 yards out, the upper turret moving jerkily, hydraulic fluid leaking from ruptured lines all over the aircraft. He waited until 700 yards, centered the sight, and fired his remaining 15 rounds in a single sustained burst. Tracers converged on the Kai-44's engine, hits sparking across the cowling, the propeller disintegrating, chunks of metal spinning away, the engine seizing. Smoke poured from the fighter as it rolled inverted and fell away. 10th kill. The upper turret's guns clicked empty, useless now, a hunk of metal and frozen gears. Chen scrambled through the connecting tunnel to the unpressurized rear section, the cold searing his skin, and found the right blister gunner on the floor, shrapnel through his shoulder, unable to operate his weapons. Chen took his position, gripping the manual controls for the twin .5s, no computer, no hydraulic boost, just raw physical strength to traverse the guns and hold aim. The second fighter from the first pair was in its attack dive, 600 yards out, opening fire at 400 yards. Cannon rounds punching through the B-29's right wing. Chen led the target, squeezed the trigger, the recoil hammering his shoulders, spent casings tumbling into the collection bag. The burst hit the fighter's cockpit, the canopy shattering, the Kai-44 snap rolling left and spinning away. 11th kill. The second pair of fighters was committed, coming in from 4 o'clock level, 300 yards apart, firing as they closed, one targeting the flight deck, the other the wing route where the fuel tanks lay exposed. The tail gunner engaged the trailing fighter, firing his remaining ammo in a 5-second burst, tracers walking across the Kai-44's nose. The windscreen exploding, the aircraft pulling up hard and breaking off, later seen falling through the clouds at 11,000 feet with no visible pilot. 12th kill. The lead fighter pressed its attack, Chen swinging his blister guns but unable to reach. The positions traversed too limited for a 4 o'clock high target. Blind to the threat, he braced for impact, but the left blister gunner fired his last 30 rounds, the burst hitting the Kai-44's left wing route, fuel spraying from ruptured tanks, the fighter banking hard right to break off, the damaged wing unable to handle the stress, the wing spar snapping, the wings separating, the fighter tumbling to the earth below. 13th kill. 13 Japanese fighters shot down by one B-29, one crew in a single mission. But the count meant nothing to Chen. Aquare 52 was at 12,000 feet and still descending, the jammed rudder making controlled flight nearly impossible. The left wing losing structural integrity, and the third wave of 4 Kai-44s was inbound. The last attackers, Japanese fuel limitations closing in, 40 minutes airborne, only 10 minutes of fuel left to hunt. But 10 minutes was enough. The 4 Kai-44s formed up in a stern line, no dive, no high-side pass, sequential ramming attacks, 4 fighters, 4 deliberate collisions. The Japanese pilots had calculated it. Even one hit, and Aquare 52 would not survive. Chen watched them through the blister's small window, 14,000 feet, 2 miles behind the bomber, matching speed and altitude, preparing for their final run. He had no ammunition left. The tail gunner had none. All turrets were offline, all blister guns empty. Aquare 52's defensive armament was expended. 4 fighters, 0 bullets, 12,000 feet above the Pacific. The lead Ki-44 accelerated 1 mile out, diving slightly to build speed, 300 miles per hour impact velocity, the standard for a guaranteed kill. Chen braced himself against the window frame. Nothing to do, no way to fight back. The aircraft commander fighting the jam rudder, gentle banks left and right, the only evasive move possible. Half a mile out, Chen could see the details. Dark green camouflage, the red Hinomaru circle on the fuselage, a yellow propeller spinner marking it as part of the 47th Sentai. Quarter mile. Nose locked on the B-29's vertical stabilizer. Impact in 15 seconds. Then the Kai-44's engine began trailing black smoke. Not battle damage, mechanical failure. The Nakajima HA-109 radial engine, temperamental at high power, had seized cylinder head temperatures spiking past design limits after 40 minutes of combat. The propeller stopped rotating, the engine dead, no thrust to maintain the intercept course. The fighter lost speed and altitude, the pilot attempting to restart it, failing before it fell away below the B-29's tail, its ramming attack aborted by its own broken engine. 14th kill. No bullets fired, no gunner to claim it, but a combat loss. Stress of battle breaking an already strained engine. American intel would later confirm the Kai-44 crashed into the Pacific 18 miles east of Tokyo, the pilot dead. 14 confirmed kills, 1 B-29, 1 mission, the highest single mission total for any bomber in the Pacific theater. The remaining 3 Ki-44s broke off, fuel critical, turning northwest for Narimasu, climbing away into the sky. The fight was over, but survival was not. Aquare 52 was at 12,000 feet over hostile territory, 1 sputtering engine, a jammed rudder, structural damage to both wings, a dead bombardier, a critically wounded blister gunner, and 1,512 miles to Saipan. Chen climbed back through the tunnel to assess damage with the flight engineer. The list catastrophic. Number 1 and 3 engines destroyed by ramming. Number 4 shut down for low oil pressure. Number 2 running hot with elevated cylinder head temps. Left wing damaged. Right wing fuel leak. Hydraulics at 15%. Radio compass broken. 1 life raft destroyed. Fuel enough for 9 hours of flight at best. 11 hours needed to reach Saipan. The numbers did not add up. The flight engineer proposed a gamble. Restart number 4 engine. It was not destroyed, just shut down as a precaution, but running it without adequate oil would kill it in 30 minutes. 30 minutes of extra thrust that might boost airspeed, cut fuel consumption, extend range. The aircraft commander approved. Number 4 coughed, caught, ran rough but produced thrust. Aquare 52 accelerating to 170 miles per hour, leveling off at 10,000 feet. The gamble worked for a while. At 1,420 hours, 28 minutes after restart, number 4 engine failed, cylinder heads overheated, internal components seizing, the propeller windmilling then freezing solid. The aircraft commander feathered it to cut drag, and Aquare 52 was back to 1 engine, altitude dropping fast. 10,000, 9,500, 9,000 feet. The navigator recalculated fuel. 7 hours left, 900 miles to Saipan. Still impossible. The flight engineer jettisoned the empty Bombay auxiliary fuel tanks. 400 pounds of dead weight. The bomber climbing 100 feet. Fuel consumption improving by 6 minutes. Still not enough. Chen stayed with the wounded blister gunner, applying pressure bandages, his morphine syrettes frozen solid. No way to ease the pain. The gunner was losing blood, going into shock, core body temperature dropping in the frigid fuselage, and Chen stripped off his own heated flight suit liner, battery-powered, independent of the B-29's failing systems, and wrapped it around him, the electrical heating elements still glowing warm against the gunner's cold skin. At 1,500 hours, the navigator offered a desperate option. Eniwetok? No, Iwima, 640 miles away, still held by the Japanese. But American submarines occasionally surfaced there to rescue downed B-29 crews. Ditch the bomber, hope for a sub. The aircraft commander rejected it. Ditching a healthy B-29 had a 40% survival rate. A crippled one with wing damage and a jammed rudder would break apart on impact. The crew left in the water with limited gear in a combat zone. They would press on to Saipan. 1,600 hours. They crossed the international date line, 700 miles to Saipan, fuel for 5 hours 40 minutes. The gap closed but still favored running out of fuel. The flight engineer shut down all non-essential electrical systems. Navigation lights. cockpit instruments, heating, interior lighting. Every amp saved reducing drag on the single engine, boosting fuel economy. The temperature inside the bomber dropped to 40 below zero. 17:30 hours. The main B-29 formation passed overhead, 18,000 feet. Tight formation, all engines running, 270 miles per hour, 4 hours to Saipan. Aquare 52 flew below them, 8,000 feet, 160 miles per hour. 7 hours to Saipan. Fuel exhaustion predicted in 4 hours 50 minutes. The wounded blister gunner lost consciousness at 1800 hours, breathing shallow, pulse weak. Chen monitored him. No medical supplies left, just his gloved hand on the gunner's wrist, counting the slow beats. At 1845 hours, number 2 engine began running rough, cylinder head temps spiking into the red, oil pressure fluctuating. It had run at maximum continuous power for nearly 7 hours, double its rated limit under normal conditions. The flight engineer reduced power slightly, airspeed dropping to 150 miles per hour, fuel consumption improving, time to Saipan increasing. 1900 hours, 400 miles to Saipan, fuel for 3 hours, 20 minutes. The numbers still did not work, but the gap was narrower, so close, yet so far. 2000 hours. The right blister gunner stopped breathing. Chen attempted resuscitation, the frozen air making chest compressions nearly impossible through the heavy flight suit, the cold searing his hands. After 4 minutes, the flight engineer called time of death. They left his body in place, moving it wasted energy the surviving crew needed to live. Number 2 engine kept running, teetering on the edge of failure, oil pressure fluctuating between 40 and 60 psi, the minimum acceptable 50. It was a miracle, a machine refusing to die for the men inside it. 2100 hours. The navigator spotted navigation lights. A U.S. Navy destroyer, 20 miles east, patrolling south of WWII. It could not help, could not refuel a flying bomber, but its position confirmed the navigator's calculations were perfect. They were on course. 2145 hours, fuel gauges read 30 minutes left, 120 miles to Saipan, 48 minutes to the runway. The flight engineer pulled the last gamble. Transfer all remaining fuel from the wing tanks to number 2's dedicated tank. Every drop, fuel pumps, cross-feed valves, emergency systems, routed to the single engine. 2,200 hours, 60 miles to Saipan, 15 minutes of fuel left. The navigator could see the runway lights of Ely Field on the southern end of the island, 8 miles away. Aquare 52 was at 4,000 feet and descending, number 2 engine coughing, fuel starvation. It caught again, ran smooth for 20 seconds, coughed, the propeller windmilling, restarted, power fluctuating. 3 miles from the runway, 2,000 feet. Ely Field Tower cleared them for an emergency landing. Crash crews standing by. Ambulances lined up along the tarmac. The landing gear would not extend. Hydraulic failure. The flight engineer cranked the emergency manual lever. Nose gear down, left main gear down, right main gear stuck retracted. Damaged in the fighter attacks. 1 mile from the runway, 1,000 feet. Number 2 engine quit completely. Fuel exhaustion. The propeller stopped. Aquare 52 became a glider. 32 tons of aluminum and steel, no power, asymmetric landing gear, diving toward the runway. Airspeed 130 miles per hour, descent rate 800 feet per minute. Too fast, too steep. The B-29 crossed the runway threshold at 300 feet, still too high, touching down halfway down the tarmac at 110 miles per hour. The left main gear collapsed instantly, the aircraft slewing left, the left wing slamming into the runway surface, metal screaming, sparks erupting into the night. Aquare 52 skidded 1,500 feet and came to rest in the dirt beside the runway, silent at last. The surviving crew, 10 men, evacuated through the rear escape hatch. The bombardier and right blister gunner were gone. The bomber a total loss, structural damage too severe to repair. But they had made it. Robert Chen, the 22-year-old rookie with 0 kills that morning, had fought alongside his crew to shoot down 14 Japanese fighters. the highest single mission tally in the Pacific. They had survived 2 ramming attacks, flown 1,512 miles on one engine, lost 2 men, and brought 10 home. Aquare 52 did not fly again. But her story, the story of a rookie gunner and a crippled B-29 that refused to die, the story of 11 men fighting for survival in the coldest sky on Earth, is not forgotten. It is a story of courage, of desperation, of machines and men pushing past their limits, of a zero that became 14, of a bomber that beat the odds, a story of the Pacific War, the forgotten ones, the gunners and crews who fought with .50 caliber guns and determination, real people, real heroism, the kind of heroism that makes the sky worth fighting for.